Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for one of our weekly webinars. My name is Sam, and I will be your moderator today. In just a second, we're going to be joined by Wesley Boudreaux, one of our senior financial advisors. Wesley will be covering several topics related to Social Security, and after his presentation, he will also be answering some of our more popular questions we've received lately on the topic, so I invite you to stick around and listen to those if you wish. If you find you have a question while he is speaking, please feel free to enter it into the Q&A box. It's completely anonymous, and Wesley will try to answer as many questions as he can, time permitted. After the presentation has ended, you will be redirected to our homepage where you can book an appointment with Wesley or one of his colleagues if you wish. You can also take advantage of several other resources we have available for you on the website. Again, you will be redirected after the presentation. And just as a final quick reminder, we are not affiliated nor endorsed whatsoever by any specific company. We are a completely independent group of financial advisors here, so please keep that in mind as you listen along with Wesley today. And without further ado, let's get to the content you're all here for with Wesley Boudreaux.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Samantha. As she said, yes, we're going to be going over some different Social Security topics, kind of really just a high-level overview. And then a lot of times it's best to kind of get into some of these as one-on-one conversations because there's no one right selection for everybody across the board when it comes to Social Security, just like when it comes to deciding when to retire. So getting into some of those things, the biggest question we always have is going to be, when should I take Social Security? When's the best time to take that? And like I said, there's no simple answer to anybody. If you could tell me, when you're going to pass away and, what your living expenses are and everything down to a T, we could tell you the best time to do that. But until we know some of those things, which I don't think any of us do know, we have to kind of look at planning ahead and looking at how Social Security impacts your entire financial plan. But again, the number one reason a lot of times people will look at taking it early is because I took it because I was eligible, or maybe I'm a burn the hand versus two in the bush. I've got concerns about Social Security being around. I want that money now to potentially alleviate stress on distributions from my other accounts, things like that. We definitely go through and we can run a full Social Security analysis on a one-on-one basis to show you how all these different options will play into your specific situation. So when can you or when should you start receiving Social Security? It's all going to depend upon your eligibility and how old you are or when you were born. But for most of you, it's going to be between 66 and 67 right now. Myself, it may be, they may push it out to 70 or 75 by the time I get there in order to remain solvent with Social Security. And we'll talk about that a little bit later here at the end. But it's either between 66 and 67 with different incremental ages. We'll show you in the middle. You can take as early as 62. So that's a reduced benefit. We'll talk about the pros and cons to that again. Burn the hand versus two in the bush, but you are going to take a pretty major hit or reduction. And you also have the option to defer it out to age 70, where you get guaranteed income benefit growth. So definitely something that's beneficial. But again, it comes into running a calculation to determine, yes, I will get more money over the life of my my Social Security, but is it more money later in life when I may not need it as much as money now? So those are all things to look at from a personal standpoint. But simply calculating it mathematically, if you think you're going to make it to, let's say, early 80s, maybe 83, 84, that's usually a break even, where if you defer till age 70, mathematically, you're going to be in better shape. But again, there's a lot of other variables to go through that conversation with. So again, why is it an important decision as to when to claim Social Security? Because I say it's a one-time decision. You do have the opportunity to make a correction there within the first year, but for the most part, once you decide, you're locked into that. And so that's a long-term decision. And it's really important because it can affect, how much you're going to get over the course of your life, over the course of you and your spouse's life. Even if you say, hey, look, I don't think I'm going to live that long. So I want to get as much money out as I can now. That may make sense if you're single, but what if you're married? And what if you were the primary breadwinner and you've got higher Social Security than what your spouse does? And if you pass away early, then he or she steps into that. So they've got that for the rest of their life. So even you may say, hey, I've only got 15 more years ahead of me, but your spouse may have 20, 25, 30 years ahead of he or she as well. So that's really important to understand as well, looking at that survivor income. And like I said, there's no one size fits all. Also, you got to factor in when I take Social Security, how is it going to affect me tax wise? Am I still working? Am I going to get all of it? Am I going to pay more taxes in it? All those different items are things to look at on a one-on-one basis. So right now, it's still a very, very important part of a retirement plan. Right now, about 50% of married couples and 70% of single individuals rely heavily on Social Security for a major part of their expenses, especially their essential expenses. We all talk about that old school three-legged stool, which unfortunately has kind of come and gone for some of us. A three-legged stool, if you don't recall what it is three legs of income in retirement, which would be your Social Security, your pension plan, and then your savings. So for a lot of companies, those pension plans have gone away. We do work with a lot of companies that still have pension plans, so that's a great source. But for some of you, that pension may have gone away, and now you've just got two legs, that Social Security and your savings. And if your savings has not been stellar, then Social Security becomes a very, very important part of your planning aspect. So again, very important to understand once you turn that on, what those benefits are for you. So when should you start receiving those benefits? We've got up here a couple different things. I'll go through some of them, but again, it's all based upon your retirement age, as far as what your benefits will be and what your contributions have been in to the Social Security system over your working years. The amount of your future benefits, again, they can affect your overall pay on an early retirement or delayed retirement. So again, if you're actually if you decide to take Social Security while you're still working, there's reductions in pay. And now it's still going to be calculated out and get back to you in the long run, but it is a reduction. And then there's also the aspect of how do you expect a retirement to last based upon your life expectancy. So I mentioned before, obviously, the longer you live, the more you'll get payments out of the Social Security Administration. But again, it comes out to, yes, I can get more payments, but the question is, what's the quality of those payments, or what am I getting from those payments? So again, those are things to look at on a one-on-one basis. And then whether you plan on continuing working, I mentioned that already. Other source of retirement income, maybe you're getting income from a pension you turned on, or maybe you're pulling from a 401k in order to allow yourself to defer to 70 because you want that 8% bump up each year you defer. You also have to factor in income tax. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then obviously I mentioned before, if you're married, how your spouse may be affected as well, because even if you're married and you're the only person at work, there is spousal benefits that he or she will get while you're collecting. And if you pass first, he or she will step into those benefits as well. So this graph just gives you kind of an idea of the range. It's a little busy. We're not going to go through number by number here by any means, but it just shows you kind of in that middle of that graph, kind of the claiming age of 66 to 67. We'll talk about what makes those ages up on the next slide. But and it shows you kind of that reduced benefit. If you were to take it earlier at 62, it could be as much as a 30% reduction. If you were to defer and take it at age 70, you can get as much as about an 8% raise each year in there. So very, very important to kind of understand those and look at how they factor in, not just on their own, but into your overall plan, which we'll talk about a little bit later here as well. So when will you get your Social Security, or when will you have your full retirement age? Again, you can get your Social Security at 62. There's other options, with disability and things like that, which hopefully you're not gonna come across. But for normal Social Security, it's going to be between 60 and 60. It's going to be 66 and 67 for your full retirement age. And then you can take as early as 62, as I mentioned. So those breakdowns you see here is if you were born before up to 1954, it's age 66. Between that and 1960, it's bumped up 2 months each year. So if you're born 1960 or later, then it's going to be age 67 as your full retirement age. So a lot of you that may be looking at turning on Social Security on or hitting full retirement age right now are right in that those last two rows probably. So you're getting at late 66 or early 67. As far as some different things, we'll talk about the benefits here. I'll leave this up for just a moment, but really we're going to touch on all these. The monthly comparison, we'll talk about, how much retirement income will I have, potentially the power of delaying benefits, and how those taxable as well. So let's get into the monthly benefit. So in example here, again, this is just an example. We saw that more detailed graph before showing the difference between 62 to 70. So here's a little bit more of a focused option. So let's assume that somebody in this case is looking at taking Social Security at 66, and that green bar in the middle, and that Social Security is going to be $1,800 a month. Now they can take that $1,800 a month, have that for the rest of their life, however long that may be, or they may say, well, look, Wesley, I want more money now. I want to spend it. I have things I want to do, and I need that money. So let's take it earlier. Let's take it at 62. If we take it at 62, now that's $1,350. So it's a reduced benefit for the rest of their life. Now, yes, they're going to get payments for the next 4 years in this case. And then what happens is there's a break-even analysis as to how long does it take for that larger $1,800 a month to catch up to the $1,350, if you would. And that may come out to late 70s or so. Then on the flip side, somebody may say, I don't really need this money right now, or I know I've got longevity in my family. I think I'll make it to my 90s easily. I want to maximize my Social Security. So they might say, hey, let's let's defer this out, Wesley, until age 70. So that way I can get a higher payment. They get that 8% bump, and now they're getting, I need my glasses, now they're getting about $2,400, $2,379, I think it looks like, on a monthly basis for the rest of their life. And then potentially the rest of their spouse's life if they step up into it, if they do pass away earlier. So in that case, the break even might come to somebody saying, you know, hey, I need to make it to 83 or 84 or something like that. Again, we can do all these calculations for you and show you specifically under your specific situation. But the difference here in this case, you know, it was about $129,000 difference over the time frame for the breakdown between age 62 and age 70 for this person. Now, according to the Social Security Administration, about 1 in 3 retirees do have a chance to live to age 90, and 1 in 7 will actually make it to 95. So when we talk about those longevity issues, that is definitely a concern. And looking at maximizing out that Social Security, again, as long as you assume that's going to be there forever and there's not going to be any means testing, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what about if I'm working? You know, typically speaking, I'll keep this simple. If you're still working and you're making income, you shouldn't be collecting Social Security probably, unless you've got some outlier situation where you know that you know, you're single and you know that you've got, you know, very short longevity and you just want to get that collected. But if you are working and start taking your Social Security, then you do have reduced benefits on there, and they actually withhold $1 for every $2 that you make over 22,000 and change prior to retirement. The year you actually, excuse me, prior to full retirement age, the year you actually reach full retirement age, so again 66 to 67, it's going to be $1 for every $3 that you make over $59,000 in change. And once you hit full retirement age, so once you hit 67, there's no reduction in benefits. Now, because of the reduction in benefits, that doesn't mean that you lose that forever. What happens is, let's say that your normal, you know, let's say your normal Social Security would have been $1,500, but because of the reduction in benefits, maybe you're only getting $1,300. That $200 gets calculated and kind of thrown back into the calculation process so that you're able to get that on the back end as well. So keep that in mind. It doesn't go away. It just reduces your benefits. But again, if you're working and you're getting Social Security benefits, then that probably bumps up your tax bracket and probably bumps up the amount of Social Security that is taxed as well, because Social Security is not taxed like ordinary income. And there's also different tax treatment from state to state on there as well. So what retirement income will you have? I talked about that three-legged stool. Here we can call this maybe a four-legged stool. You got Social Security, savings and investments, maybe your 401k, outside savings you've done, potentially a pension benefits. Hopefully some of you still have that, but again, a lot of America has lost those options. They've rolled over into the 401k options. Or maybe you have a job, you know, maybe you're looking at taking a job to supplement your income, or maybe just to supplement your time because you're bored in retirement. So these are different options, and obviously Social Security is a big factor in that, and it makes sense to review that when you look at your financial plan. Now, I talked about the taxes, or alluded to the taxes on Social Security. You know, if you go out there and you get that job and, you know, let's say you work at the hardware store and you make, you know, $15,000 a year for extra income, that's fully taxable. Now, Social Security is not. Depending upon your income level, Social Security could be either 0% taxed on the federal level, 50% of it being taxed, or 85% of it being taxed. And depending upon the state you live in, it may be taxed or it may not be taxed. We get into those reviews as well on a one-on-one basis. But generally speaking, and I might have to put my glasses on here. I'm going to zoom in so I have the numbers here for you. So the taxation, if you're single, it's up to 50% of it's taxed if you make between 25 and 34,000. If you're married, between 32 and 44. And then if you make over that 34 or that 44, that's where you're going to have 85% taxation on it. So again, if your adjusted gross income is below those numbers, then you have no tax on Social Security. And this is really kind of a unique aspect where a lot of people aren't aware of. And we talk a lot about, you know, doing Roth conversions for clients and stuff. And obviously, a lot of times, you know, somebody who's got higher income, they're going to be in a higher tax bracket. So we have to factor in, okay, will the Roth conversion affect their IRMA situation for Medicare? But on the flip side, somebody who doesn't have a lot of income or lives pretty sufficiently with not spending a lot, and they do a Roth conversion, it could actually affect their Social Security, where if they do that, it could bump up their Social Security from 0 taxation to 50 or 85% taxation. So they could effectively, you know, go from thinking, hey, I'm going to be in the 10 or 12% bracket to having to increase their tax on Social Security and effectively having a slightly higher tax bracket. So again, another just food for thought. If you're looking at Roth conversions, Social Security does play a factor in that as well. So be aware of that. Here's another example to kind of look at the power of delay, and we showed that bar chart to give you some breakdowns, but let's take a look at a real example, and let's assume in this situation, spouse one and spouse two both are collecting Social Security. Spouse one at 62 is getting 1,700 at 62 for spouse two. They're going to be getting a little bit over $1,000. So between the two, about $2,700 a month for the rest of their lives if they start at 62. If they looked at full retirement age, that would actually be closer to about $3,800. If they deferred out till 70, it would be closer to about $6,200. So again, in this case, the monthly joint income for the of the 2457 or more for both spouses if they claim at age 70. So again, what that means though is if they have longevity on their side, they're going to get that much more money with cost of living adjustments down the road for them. But the question is between 62 and 70, that's 8 years of no income. So we need to make sure that that's supplemented by distributions, and what's that impact there? How much will they actually, if they took it at 62, how much will they grow that over the next 8 years? And then where's that break even there? But mathematically, usually that break even, if we're not talking about investment and cost of living adjustments and things like that, it's going to come out to maybe 83, 84 or something of that nature. So again, it's just something to look at and look at a one-on-one basis. So again, kind of summarizing all these things, the choice is really going to be yours. We can give you the financial aspect of it and tell you what the best option is going to be. But again, there's also the emotional aspect of it. Whether you need this money now, that's simply honestly, that's the easiest answer. If somebody taking it early is because they need it. They don't have that pension, or they haven't saved well and they need that Social Security. So that in some cases may be a no-brainer. But if we're looking at whether we want to defer that or take it early, then a lot of those decisions we talked about is going to come around your need for Social Security. Do you want to invest your monthly benefits to try and grow those potentially? Do you want to delay having the income? Does your spouse want to delay? There's different claiming strategies where maybe one spouse claims and one delays, and we can get into that on the whole review as well. And other reasons why you may decide to claim the benefit later is, again, if you got longevity on your side, you got the higher monthly retirement income benefits that are taking care of what you need already. You're able to file spousal benefits potentially and defer yours. So there's a lot of different things to go through those options with you on there as well. And then ultimately, whenever it comes time to do that, you need to contact the Social Security Administration to get the ball rolling. You get your benefits estimate from the socialsecurity.gov. You want to contact them about 3 months prior to when you're looking at turning income on. You can apply online or by phone or in person if you want to stomach going down to the Social Security Administration office and stand in that line. So again, whenever you're ready to do so, you can go through them to apply, but it's really important to at least review with us or somebody else what those different options are before you pull that trigger. Because again, with the exception of making a change within the first year, you really are going to be locked into that over time. So one of the big questions a lot of people ask us, I mentioned before, are you burn the hand versus two in the bush kind of person? Do you have concerns about Social Security still being there? I think obviously I would have more of a concern. I've got a little bit over 20 years ahead of me before I hit the full retirement age, which again, I think they'll likely bump out. But this chart kind of shows you the solvency issues with Social Security. And right now, if they just don't do anything, it's still going to be kind of solvent to the 2030s or so. But there are some simple tweaks they can do, and they've been doing some of those by increasing the amount that's taxed for the FICA taxes. So meaning the amount that myself and other workers and yourself, if you're still working, are paying into the system, it can potentially increase. They can actually increase the retirement age for those of us that are younger to stretch that out a little bit more. And those are two that I think we've run some different scenarios, and some simple tweaks can actually get this out to like the 2090s or so. The biggest fear I would potentially have is if they don't do that appropriately, and there may be a means testing. So that's the one fear that some of our clients do have. If you've got, going back to that three-legged stool, if you've got the pension and you've got, good savings, and it's not viewed that you necessarily need Social Security, there could be a means testing and you could get a reduction, 10 or 15 or 20% in that. That would be the one thing I would think that would be the risk potential on the table, but I do think it's very small. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's any fear of Social Security obviously going away. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind when you go through this review process. And I mentioned, again, reviewing it together with a financial plan. Right now, about 3/4 of Americans over 50 don't have a written plan. We actually will incorporate this into our cash flow analysis or financial plan, in which case we can let you know, are you on the right track to meet your retirement goals? Can you retire there you want to? Should we review your pension plan, your 401k? Should you work a little bit longer? Could you retire earlier? Have you already retired? And how long will your money last? All these things need to be done to kind of back into a sound financial plan, and then also into an investment strategy as to how those assets should be invested in order to meet those goals based upon what your overall long-term needs are. So again, keep that in mind, and feel free to reach out to us on that. But a quick reminder for who the retirement group is, for those of you who have not been on these calls or webinars or haven't sat down with us in a while. Again, we are an independent financial advisory firm that focus on working with corporate employees and helping them transition into retirement. We work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and again, a lot of our advisors, myself included, will focus on just a select few companies, so it allows us to have a deeper understanding of your benefits plans. So whether you have questions on your pension, your 401k, your healthcare, retiree medical benefits, life insurance continuation, things like that, we can go through all that with you as well. And then in addition to the financial planning aspects, obviously, we are an investment advisory firm, so we can help you manage those assets if you're not going to do things on your own. We've also got access to CPAs for tax planning services, estate attorneys for estate planning services. So there's a lot of different things we can provide with you once we have that one-on-one conversation. And we do have offices throughout the country, so rest assured you can sit down with one of us face to face, but also you can still have phone conversations, web meetings, whatever your preferred communication method's going to be. And then at the end of the day, just take us up on that complimentary cash flow analysis, and we'll be happy to help you out with that, so you can see exactly what those options are. And as far as getting a hold of us, you can reach us at 1-800-900-5867, also at info@theretirementgroup.com. And we'll see if Samantha got any questions in here, but I'll leave these QR codes up. You can get into our LinkedIn page to get more specific information and updates on future webinars, and also one to get into myself and our other advisor schedules if you need to actually talk with somebody.
Thank you, Wesley. Yeah, that was a great presentation.
Thank you. I need to get glasses that work.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, you know the information, so
Yeah.
that always helps. As a reminder, after the presentation has ended, you will be redirected to our homepage where you can book that appointment with Wesley, get all your questions answered, talk to him about your specific concerns. The QR code's on the screen that Wesley has up. FYI, I think a lot of people don't realize you can screenshot those on your phone and then just hold the link down and it will direct you to that webpage. So if you're watching us on your phone, just screenshot that the QR code, and you can take advantage of that later. All right, Wesley, we're going to answer some questions. We'll try to keep it quick. This first one, this is a recap because you already covered this, but with inflation so high right now, would my Social Security benefits change?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't get into in full detail the cost of
Right.
living adjustments. We kind of talked about them on the overview. So in addition to the aspect of deferring Social Security, getting that bump up and raise, that's not affecting cost of living adjustments. Once you turn that on, and also embedded into the future calculations, there is what's called a COLA, a cost of living adjustment. We've obviously seen inflation kind of ramp up here the last couple of years, and for some years we had that cost of adjustment very minimal, like a 1 or 2%, but the last couple of years it has gone up. So it was actually 5.9% in 2021, that bump up, and then the highest was 8.7% in 2022, and then last year 2023 it was 3.2%. So again, you are seeing raises in Social Security. Now, is it enough to keep up with the cost of everything? Maybe not, but at least it's better than a flat pension from a company where they give you $3,000 a month for the rest of your life, and it's $3,000 now and it's $3,000 in 15 years when it doesn't have that same purchasing power. So again, another benefit in factoring that into the plan. Now, one little caveat: when we run our cash flow analysis and our financial plans, we do start from a very conservative standpoint. We do put in a cost of living adjustment, but we typically keep it down to like 1 or 1.5% just to be safe in there as well. So again, that's another aspect of a lot of times when we run a cash flow analysis for you, we're going to be a lot more assured that you're going to be in good shape because we run it so conservatively.
All righty, thank you. All righty, this next one. Can I only make partial Social Security claims, or should I take it all at once?
Okay,
Can you claim
maybe the question is can I take Social Security as a lump sum or something like that? Maybe is
or not claim all of your Social Security at once?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll answer the way I thought it was first, and then we'll go into that. So once you set Social Security up, you'll have to take that. It is what it is. You can't take a partial. Let's say, for instance, if you can do this on different like annuities and stuff, but let's say you had your Social Security benefit was $2,000 a month, and you said, hey, Social Security, I want to only take $1,000 and let that extra 1,000 grow and ride. No, you cannot do that. You're taking what your Social Security is. Nor could you go and say, hey, can you calculate a lump sum benefit for me so I can take, instead of that 2,000 a month, get a, $400 or $500,000 lump sum for me to invest it on my own? No, you can't do that either. Those are some functions you can do maybe with your pension. So that may be the kind of the confusion in that process in some cases. But if you have that question, you want to talk to me one off, just give us a call. We can kind of go through that. But no, once you turn the Social Security on, it is what it is. I did say you've got that option to stop it. Usually that's within a year time frame. So let's say maybe someone turned 67 and they retired and they started Social Security, and then 2 months in, their wife says, get out of the house, honey. I need you to do something. And so maybe they go out and they go start working and they realize, well, I don't need the Social Security now. And so they go back to work with a contract so that they can go in there and stop it, but have to go back and pay those 2 months or whatever they actually had, and go back and defer it. So that's an option in that case as well.
All righty, thank you. We're going to do one more. My pension has a Social Security offset. How does Social Security affect my pension?
Okay, this is a great question because we do work with a lot of companies that do still have pensions, and Social Security offset is one that's kind of confused a lot of times. For most people, I'd say 95%, maybe 99% of people that we talk to at a company, it's not an issue, because what happens is they come in there, they calculate most pension calculations, look at your years of service times your final average pay, times a multiplier that the company uses to generate that annuity. But they also have a Social Security offset, because what happens is over the years you've been making contributions, they've been paying half your Social Security and Medicare taxes. So they essentially kind of claw that back. So if you've been working at the same company for a long time, there's no issues there. They know what your numbers are. But a quick issue would be, let's say maybe a firefighter or a teacher or somebody who worked in the public sector that didn't make contributions into Social Security, had a career change. Maybe at 50 or something, he or she decided to go work for a company that does have a pension, and they worked there for 10 or 15 years, and they got that pension. Well, when they go and run that calculation of the Social Security offset, they're just going to assume that whatever they made there was Social Security contribution the entire time, when in reality they didn't have that much Social Security in there. So we would take a look at your actual Social Security statement and say, okay, well, this company is saying that you've got benefits of XYZ, but in reality you've got lower benefits. So let's get that corrected. And it could come back and it could generate another couple $100 in annuity income, or another 10, 20, 30, $50,000 or more in a lump sum. So simply put, if you haven't worked in the same career your entire time and you've worked in the public sector, then Social Security offset's something to look into.
All righty, Wesley. That was it. That was all we had time for. We apologize if we did not get to all of your questions today, but you can always make contact with Wesley, make an appointment with him, and get those questions answered. Wesley, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you. And as you said, we work with a lot of different companies. We're not endorsed by them, but a lot of our advisors are focused on those, and we can get any question you have answered. All right, you have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. We hope to see you on another webinar very soon.